It was supposed to be just another stop on our road trip. Me, my brother Theo, and his girlfriend Zoe were driving through New Mexico when we heard about a ghost town called Langridge. It wasn't on any modern map. We only found it because Zoe spotted the name on an old paper map at a gas station. One cracked road led straight to it. We thought we were going to find dust, ruins, maybe a few cool photos. We were wrong. Langridge looked dead. Sun-bleached buildings, collapsed roofs, shattered glass. No footprints, no signs of life. It was perfect for exploring. We walked down what used to be the main street, a post office, a general store, a few empty houses, all decaying in the desert heat. Then we saw the house at the end of the road, 2 stories, porch sagging, but the front door was open. It hadn't been when we arrived. Theo grinned. Looks like someone's still home. We stepped inside. It was colder in there and cleaner. No dust on the floor, no cobwebs, no rot. That's when we noticed the photos. Lining the walls, pinned to a board, taped to mirrors, dozens of them. And they were all of us. Me, Theo, Zoe, some from that day. Walking up the driveway, entering the store, others from earlier, weeks ago. One of me at the gas station, one of Zoe standing at her job, one of Theo asleep in the car. None of us had taken them. Zoe backed away. We need to leave now. That's when we heard the footsteps. Upstairs. Slow. Heavy. Coming toward the stairs. Theo whispered, "No way, someone lives here." The steps got louder. We ran, out the door, back to the car. Didn't stop until we hit the highway. But that wasn't the end. That night at the motel, Zoe dumped out her backpack to find her charger. And sitting at the bottom was a porcelain doll, one we'd seen earlier, inside the house. None of us took it. The next morning, I tried to look up Langridge. The town doesn't exist. Not online, not in records, not even on the paper map anymore. It's like it vanished. But last night, someone slipped a photo under our motel door. It was us, standing in the living room of that house. But none of us remember that moment, and none of us took the picture. We live near the edge of a forest preserve in Vermont. Quiet, safe, the kind of place where people leave their doors unlocked. That changed last fall. My 8-year-old son, Daniel, was playing in the backyard. I was raking leaves in the front. We were maybe 30 feet apart. When I looked up, he was gone. At first, I thought he was behind the shed, or chasing squirrels again. I called his name, no answer. I ran around the house, searched every corner, yelled until my throat hurt. He wasn't there. We called the police. Neighbors joined the search. They brought dogs, drones, even a helicopter. 6 hours later, he walked back into the yard like nothing happened. His clothes were clean, no dirt, no scratches. He looked confused, not scared. We ran to him. "Where were you?" I asked. He frowned. "What do you mean?" "You were missing for 6 hours." He blinked. "No, I just left." I stared at him. "You were gone all day." He shook his head. "It was only a few minutes." That night, I sat him down. "Tell me what happened, everything." He said he walked toward the woods, and then he saw something strange. The air was bent, he said, like heat waves but colder. He stepped through it. Suddenly, everything looked different. The trees were silver. The sun was the wrong color, more green than yellow. He heard a low humming, constant, like a tuning fork. And then he saw them. I asked, "Who?" He paused. They weren't people. He said they were tall, thin, no mouths, just eyes, dark eyes that didn't blink. They talked in my head, he whispered, not with words, just feelings. I asked how he came back. "One of them pointed," he said, "and I was home." He didn't cry, didn't seem scared. But ever since that day, he's been different. He doesn't eat meat anymore, says it smells dead. He wakes up at exactly 3:13 a.m. every night. Sits up in bed, just stares at the wall. Last week, I caught him in the backyard at sunrise, barefoot, whispering into his walkie-talkie. It wasn't turned on. When I asked what he was doing, he said, checking if they're still listening. And last night, I heard static from the walkie-talkie, followed by a voice. But it wasn't Daniel's, and it wasn't human. I moved into a cabin in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Quiet, remote, right on the edge of a lake called Horrifying, the perfect place to be alone. For the first few weeks, I'd sit out on the porch every night, just listening to the breeze, the water lapping against the dock. But then, I started feeling it. That sensation you get when someone's watching you. Every night around 11 p.m. from across the lake. There's no cabin over there, no campgrounds, just thick forest, black water, silence. But one night I saw it, a figure, standing at the tree line across the water. Tall, still, too far to make out any details, but I knew it was watching me. The next night it was there again, same time, same place. I brought out binoculars, and I wish I hadn't. It was tall, maybe 7 feet, thin, pale skin, long arms that hung past its knees, black hair covering most of its face. But somehow, I still felt its eyes on me. I waved. It didn't move. I looked down for a second, just to set the binoculars down. When I looked back, gone. The next morning, I kayaked across the lake. No footprints, no signs of anything. But the sand was disturbed, flattened, pressed down, like something heavy had stood there. I told myself it was an animal. But the next night, I saw it again, closer this time, on the dock, my dock, just standing there, not moving, not breathing. I turned off all the lights, locked the doors, sat on the floor with a knife in my hand, waiting. Then I heard it. Footsteps on the wood. It had walked from the dock to the porch, right up to my door. I held my breath, waited, and then silence. In the morning, I opened the front door slowly, no one there, but on the wood, wet footprints, bare, leading up to the door. I didn't sleep that night. Then came the voice. I didn't hear it with my ears. I felt it in my head, just one word. Soon. I haven't been outside since. I keep the blinds shut, the doors locked, the lights on, but last night, I made a mistake. I looked out the window, and there it was, standing in the water, chest deep, still watching. It started as a joke. Me, Kyle, and Bree were bored. Small-town boredom does that to you. Kyle had heard about an old farmhouse out past the quarry. Empty, forgotten, supposedly abandoned after the last owner went off the deep end. So, of course, we went. We found it after sundown. 2 stories, windows boarded, door hanging crooked, no cars, no lights, just dark, perfect. Kyle pushed the door open. Bree flicked on her phone flashlight. I followed, trying to act braver than I felt. The floor groaned under our feet. Walls stripped bare, furniture rotting, smelled like mold and old air. We split up, just for a minute. I went upstairs. That's when I noticed something strange. One door was closed. Every other room was open, empty, dusty. But this door, closed, and on the front of it, a single clean handprint in the dust. I called Kyle. He joined me, so did Bree. Without a word, Kyle turned the knob and opened it. What we saw inside didn't make sense. It was clean, no dust, no cobwebs. A fresh-looking bed, a rocking chair, a bowl of fruit on the table, still ripe, and photos, dozens of them, on the walls, on the dresser, on the floor, and every single one was of us. One of Bree pumping gas, one of Kyle asleep in his car, one of me sitting on my porch, all taken from a distance. None of us had ever seen them before. "These are recent," Bree whispered. We backed out of the room fast, then we heard it. Thud. Footsteps, downstairs, heavy, slow, not us. Kyle slammed the door shut and locked it. We turned, looked for another way out. There was a closet. We pulled it open, hoping for a crawl space. Instead, there was a small TV, plugged in, on, showing a live feed of the bedroom we were standing in. A camera in the corner blinked red. We were being watched. But then, the TV screen changed. The feed now showed the hallway, and standing there, right outside the door, was a person in a mask, not moving, just staring at the door. We backed into the corner, no signal on our phones, no windows in the room. Then the doorknob turned. Click, 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 locked, for now. We waited, frozen. The knob stopped turning. Silence. We didn't move for what felt like hours. When we finally opened the door, no one was there. But at the top of the stairs, a new photo sat on the floor, still warm. It was us, inside the room, taken from the hallway. I moved into a studio apartment in Pittsburgh last year. 3rd floor, no roommates, it was old, but cheap. That was enough. Everything seemed normal at first, until I started feeling cold air in the bathroom. Not from the vent, it was sealed, and there were no windows. Just this constant draft coming from the mirror. One weekend, I got curious. I pulled the mirror off the wall. Behind it was a thin seam, like the outline of a door, hidden behind drywall. I pressed. It opened. A hidden passage, maybe 3 feet wide. Brick walls, no light, just blackness and the sound of my own breathing. I should have walked away. Instead, I grabbed a flashlight and stepped inside. The tunnel led to a small room, no bigger than a closet. There was a cot on the floor, a cracked mirror on the wall, and a metal box in the corner. Inside the box, a journal, photos, and something worse. The journal looked normal at first, but as the pages went on, the writing changed. It got messy, paranoid, unreadable. Over and over, one word was written: Cora. Drawings filled the margins. Eyes, dozens of them. On walls, ceilings, floors, watching. Some of the pages had my apartment number scribbled in the corner. Beneath the journal were Polaroids of people sleeping. None of them looked aware the photos were being taken. Some were in apartments, others through windows, and one was of me, in bed, taken from above. I staggered out of the crawl space and put everything back. Tried to pretend I never saw it. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I heard something. The bathroom door, moving on its own. I turned on the light. Nothing there. But in the mirror, there was a smudge, a fingerprint, from inside the glass. The next day, I moved the mirror again. The passage was still there. But the room, empty. The cot was gone. The mirror was gone. The box was gone. But in the corner, taped to the wall, was a photo of me, taking the mirror down.